Madam Chair, as you know, the state code requires that when we have an in-person meeting, that we have to have a majority of the committee physically present. And so we've achieved that today. Mr. Washington was able to drive here today from Fairfax. We have Ingrid Barber, who also joins us in person. Tim Spencer made the drive from Roanoke, and Mike Tillum is here from Richmond. And I believe we have the same number of folks, the same individuals from the board who were with us during the finance committee meeting are also still online. And so if you're ready, I think the folks that are here in person are also ready to get started.
Sounds great. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sarah Thomason. I serve as chair of the OAA Grants Committee meeting, and I'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. The following committee members are in attendance in person, as Tony just mentioned: Mr. Spencer, Mr. Tillum, Ms. Barber, Mr. Washington. And now I'm going to request our OAA Council Assistant, Senior Assistant Attorney General James Schlesman, to confirm the Grants Committee members attending virtually, and our reasons for doing so for this meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Madam Chairwoman, members of the committee, pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act and a policy that this board has adopted back in June and every year before then, it allows members of the committee or members of the board to participate electronically under certain conditions. And in this case, beginning with you, Madam Chairwoman, it is my understanding that the condition that you can attend virtually is that your personal residence is more than 60 miles away from a farm-built location where meeting today. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. Senator Pillion, is that also the same reason that you're attending virtually today?
That is correct.
And Delegate Sewell, is that also the same reason why you're attending virtually today?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you so much. That I believe that concludes my duties, Madam Chairwoman, and I turn the mic back to you.
Thank you so much. So we have established a quorum. I also want to welcome all who have joined us either in person or virtually that are guests. I also want to provide a very special welcome to our new Grants Committee members, Mrs. Ingrid Wallace Barber, who's the Executive Director of the Allegheny Highlands Community Services Board, and Mr. Darrell Washington, who is the Executive Director of the Fairfax Falls Church Community Service Board, as well as our OAA board member, Mrs. Debbie Ritter, who is joining us virtually. Stayed on. So let's go ahead to our agenda item number 2, which is approval of minutes from our August 1st meeting of the Grants Committee. As you know, these minutes are posted on our website. I will now entertain a motion to approve these minutes.
So moved.
Thank you, Senator Pillion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Delegate Sewell. All in favor of approving the minutes, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed, nay? Any abstentions? Okay, we have approved our minutes. Our next agenda item is turning it over to our Director of Operations, Charlie Linekum. Charlie, take it away.
Madam Chair, also just like to note that our new board member, Ms. Jenny Sachs, is also on the meeting virtually. So thank everybody for being here today. So I'm going to give a brief update on grant operations first. Okay, so for city and county awards, all award packages have been completed and distributed, except for a few that need some technical or administrative updates, which are part of the items that we'll be working on today. We're tracking the acceptance of awards and related contingency documents. We are in the process of finalizing the reviews of the fiscal year 25 carry forward true-up reports. For those new to the board, each year when grants are approved for a renewal, there's an estimated carry forward amount included there because the approval for the renewal is usually given before the end of the performance period. And then we do a true up process after the performance period has closed to reconcile any differences between the estimate and how that has, how the funds have actually ended up so that, and we can make adjustments to the award as needed from that. So those have all been submitted, and staff has been reviewing and following up on a few that just needed some tweaks. And we have and that was all done through our grants portal this year for the first time, a few hiccups, but we're learning. And big thank you to all of our city and county, as well as upcoming our state agency awardees out in the field for working with us and giving us good feedback and helping us work through small problems as we find them and helping us figure out the right fixes. Also, the annual reports for the FY25 city and county awards are due October 1st at 11:59 p.m. In the grants portal. For state agency awards, our 25-26 MOUs are in the process of being reviewed and distributed. And there are two items added recently to this agenda for technical amendments as well to get those out the door. The city and county's carry forward true up reports are currently due on the 20th of October, and their annual reports will be due on November 17th. I would also like to be able to make an announcement. It's probably our first, I think, public announcement since getting the acceptance. Erica Tanner will be joining us on October 10th as the Central Region Local Government Opioid Settlement Liaison, which we've the kind of the new title we've given to the outreach team, resource coordinators, but those working in the field, Cindy Newman, Jenny Sawyer, Kat Dupre, will be joined by Erica, who will cover the OAA Central Region, which is kind of from Charlottesville directly south to the southern border of the state, with eastern borders running down Goochland, Powhatan, and kind of down through that way, and western borders going out to like Bedford and down to like Patrick County. So this is an area where we probably have the largest number of localities that we've not been able to get engaged in using their funds, and so Erica coming on board will be very helpful for that. She's coming to us after spending 5+ years at the Southside Planning District Commission. So she lives in South Hill, so she lives in the district, like the other outreach workers do as well. So we're looking forward to her coming on and more assistance being provided to that portion of the state. Did want to show that as of September 24th, we have 67 localities signed on as gold standard, which means we have crossed the 50% mark. It's 50 points, like something, but there are less to get signed on than not. And so we're continuing to work with localities, and we still know there are some that have engaged in the use of their individual funds and just haven't signed for the gold standard because they haven't had a need to pull those funds yet into a project. So we're hoping on this next round, we'll see some more tick up as well. Still have a goal to hopefully get everyone on board with this program. And then, so just upcoming dates that are going on in the city and county awards, and mentioned the annual reports be doing this done, and then we'll be doing a series of technical support webinars throughout the current application cycle, which closes on March 16th of next year. And in the middle of that, also, we have our next grants committee meeting will be all virtual on November 19th. That will occur right along with the board meeting scheduled for that day. There will be an in-person one in Richmond on the 20th of January, and then the next one will be also in person on June 4th approximately. That'll occur with the board meeting that usually takes care of that time. And then we currently have an earmarked spot for this time next year. So we're trying to keep things out in front for planning purposes, not only for you all as members of the committee, but also for cities and counties as they're looking to figure out when's the best time for them to get an application in to use their funds. So now I'll move into our kind of recommendations section. for awards to cities and counties, and actually this also will include the ones for state agencies. These details are included on attachment A in the packet that I sent out, or that the members here in person should have in front of them, and detail the different amendments. So first amendment to fiscal year 26 cooperative partnership awards for cities and counties. The first one is for Chesterfield County for their mobile outreach services for harm reduction, treatment, and support. This is a technical amendment that is just adjusting the funds that the individual distribution matching funds for Colonial Heights and Petersburg cities. They were crossed in error on the application and the recommendations that came through and were approved at the June 5th meeting. And Chesterfield notified us of that. So this is just to flip them, to put them in the right spots so that they have the right amount of money pledged to those projects based on what they have available. The next is also in FY 26 Cooperative Partnership Award. This is a technical amendment for the city of Harrisonburg for their, I lost my project title, apologies. This is for their peer recovery center. This is a technical amendment to correct the cooperative funding amounts. There was a miscommunication between OAA and Harrisonburg during the renewal period about how to estimate in things to take into account to estimate their carry forward amount, which vastly overstated the amount that they would have. And so, which in turn ate up funds that they needed in the new year. So this corrects the carry forward to the 31/5/24 and the new year amount of funds to the 168,476 for a total of $200,000 in OAA funds. And that, along with a $50,000 in non-OAA matches up to the expenses they have provided to us for what they need to run the program this year. So that was error on our part, but we are working currently to improve how everything looks in the system for renewals, especially on the finance side. So it's easier for both ourselves and the applicants to see which bucket of funds are being affected by what actions that they're requesting, so we can stem issues like this from happening in the future. The next item is for an individual planning grant. This was one that got started a little later. For those that have been on the committee for a while, there was a set of planning grants back earlier this calendar year. We gave period of performance extensions to, so they can finish their planning. Many of them are going through RFP processes to bring vendors on board to help them do studies and gap analysis and develop this plan. And then from this plan has to result in application to OAA for use of funds. And so this one for Suffolk City, they are in their process, and what we're doing is extending the performance period, which ended, has just recently come across an ending through the end of this current fiscal year, so June 30th of 26, with the idea that they will provide that application in March of 2026 when this current application period is over. And that aligns this with the other ones that we made corrections to back in, I should say, we made extensions to back in, I believe it was in February. So sorry, we lost a projector for a second here in person. So there's no additional funds. This is just a period of performance extension. And these are amendments to state agency awards. The first is for the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services Judicial Training Project. This is just an amendment to the scope for the kind of the upcoming performance period 2025, 2026. State, as a reminder, state agency awards their performance runs on an October to September performance period, different than city county awards, which run on the state's fiscal year. So this is an amendment to just update the scope and remove some items that were already completed based on just a misunderstanding of some communications between us and DBHDS during the renewal process. There were some updates that OAA had requested to the bench books, which are kind of the core textbooks they put into this project, that the curriculum for all the trainings for the people that are working in the alternative dockets and recovery courts will receive. And so, but though it turned out as we were working through the MOU process, those had been done. And we had set aside some funding for them to make those updates. So this restores all the funding to go into the training, which they have the draft schedule currently to start in January. So this will be, and it's going to happen in regional special trainings throughout the Commonwealth. The other amendment is for the Office of the Attorney General for their opioid and fentanyl prevention and awareness campaign. And this is an amendment to the 24-25 carry forward that's being applied to the new upcoming period for 25-26. They originally projected not to have any carry forward amount in the they would have expended all their funds during this performance period, but was a snafu trying to get some of their ad buys out for the media campaign that has held some funds up. And so this does not provide any additional funds for the new period, but just authorizes the carry forward. The reason we had to bring this here and couldn't do it administratively is the policy the board approved that gave the executive director the ability to make these adjustments, say as long as the total award, and we consider the total award, the new amount and the carry forward amount combined together. So because this increases the total amount, we had to bring this back to the grants committee. So it's really just authorizing increasing their carry forward from 0 to 382, 742, 79, and that takes the total project amount from 500,000 up to 882, 742, 79. And my contact at the Attorney General's office has pledged that all these funds, the carry forward funds, will be exhausted by the end of this calendar year. Before I jump into the summary of the equitable distribution policy, Madam Chair, I was going to ask if there's any questions about any of the amendments that were proposed. I don't see anything in the chat. Any hand raises, so that I will go along. So this draft equitable distribution policy is also provided in the packet that was sent out. There were no changes to this with the update that I sent this morning. So I believe at the board meeting back in June, Tony brought up to the board that the Code of Virginia requires the OAA to make awards from the opioid abatement fund in a manner that distributes those funds equitably among all of the community service board regions in the Commonwealth. And that means the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services regions that they determine for the purposes of administering their part of Chapter 5 of the Virginia statute. And so from that, we have been, making awards initially based on what kind of applications come in and where the need has identified in people when they would have put things together. And so because this is a long-term requirement over the course of which now at least about 20 years worth of supplement payments come in, it was recommended to the board to consider this policy. And so the staff has worked to draft this up. Key factors that kind of go into this policy is the Commonwealth Settlement MOU and the Code of Virginia 2.2 2374D address the equitable distribution for individual distributions. So those funds that we set aside specifically for each city and county, but not the competitive funds for the cooperative partnerships, the state agencies, or the unrestricted funding bucket. So, and another thing is an equitable distribution strategy has to consider that the number and location of applications that OAA has and will receive cannot be guaranteed. Equitable distribution alone does not guarantee an equitable amount of applications statewide to make the awards too. So from that, regarding state agencies, again, the statute is silent as whether or how to ensure the funds awarded to state agencies are quote unquote equitably distributed throughout the Commonwealth. Nevertheless, state agencies have their own statutes and regulations they must abide to implement funding accordingly. And I can additionally make a comment that the bulk of the state agency awards that we make are statewide in benefit. They are not, most of them are not regionally focused. For individual distributions to cities and counties, again, this is that that 15% of the OAA funds that are set aside specifically for each city and county. It's the policy of the board that allocation specific in the MOU does it equitably distribute the opportunity for awards to individual cities and counties as this allocation aligns with the statute, and the allocation has been agreed to by all 133 cities and counties of the Commonwealth. But this actual distribution of the individual distribution grants is contingent upon cities and counties submitting grant applications compliant with Virginia statutes to the authority. It's not possible for the authority to guarantee the actual distribution. We can't make them apply to use these funds. Even in accordance with the form of the MOU, unless they actually go forth and apply for the funds they're eligible to receive. Therefore, we're recommending that the policy of the authority is that the statutory intent of equitable distribution is achieved when the authority provides access to these funds as described in the policy, and not on whether any individual city or county actually chooses to submit applications compliant with 2.223.7. The next addresses the regional efforts, or as cooperative partnerships, as we call them. This is the 35% of the opioid abatement funds that are set aside for cities and counties to come together. Requires at least 2 cities and or counties within a community service board or DBHDS region. If you're not familiar, in addition, once you've met the 2 in the same region, you can add, as many as you want from wherever else in the Commonwealth. And that's just been written into the code. So they have to, in accordance with the board's terms and conditions, they have to form these partnerships and have to elect one of the localities as a fiscal agent in order to apply for these awards. The authority annually creates a budget for regional efforts for each of the DBHDS regions based on the aggregation of the formula contained in the MOU for all the cities and counties within each region. And the actual distributions of these grants, again, is contingent upon cities and counties submitting grant applications compliant with Virginia statutes to the authority. It's not possible to guarantee the distribution for regional efforts, even in accordance with the formula in the MOU, unless cities and counties form these partnerships and apply for funds that are budgeted for regional efforts within their DBHDS regions, and those grant applications compliant with 2.223.7. The statutory, it's recommended the statutory intent of equitable distribution for regional efforts is achieved when the authority provides access and opportunity to the funds as described in the policy, and not on whether the cities and counties actually form cooperative partnerships and apply for them with grant applications compliant with 2.223.7. And the unrestricted funds, this is again 35% of the OAA's funds that are set aside for the operations of the Opioid Abatement Authority, as well as for the board to come up with other ways to make awards to cities, counties, and state agencies that are not specifically already set out in statute. So the statute is silent on how the authority is to ensure that this portion of the fund is equitably distributed throughout the Commonwealth. It's recommended that the distribution of awards is achieved using the guidance provided in this document for individual and cooperative partnership awards. And the authority may use unrestricted funds to increase the amount of funding awarded to individual cities and counties and cooperative partnerships, provided the policies outlined or above are achieved. So finally, the recommendation of staff is for the grants committee to consider approval of this policy. It will be again presented to the full board of directors at the November 19th meeting, but we thought it was good for the grants committee to be able to see and review and ask questions, provide any feedback before it's presented to the full board, since it is the grants committee that will be in effect kind of following this policy through the awards that it has. And just lastly, the next grants committee meeting is November 19th. 3 p.m. all virtual, with the board meeting all virtual to follow. But I will also ask if there are any questions on the equitable distribution policy before I wrap up.
Yeah, Charlie, I had a question. So with the regional policies, I know that the state adopted basically a funding formula for all cities and individual localities. Is the regional basically a roll-up, if you will, of those individual percentages.
Yeah, basically it takes them and regionalizes them amongst the DBHDS regions, and Adam does that, and if you want any more context you want to provide around it,
Yeah, I mean, that's it.
that's how we set the regional budgets each year.
Both percentages to get it accurate.
Okay,
Last page.
at the last page. Yep. That font is way too small.
And so, you know, I think that, this is an example of where you as the authorities, board members, grants committee members have been basically doing everything that Charlie has described. We just didn't have the policy documented. So this is really documenting and formalizing what we've been successfully doing. And the heart of the matter is, you know, it's obvious when we make awards that for the last couple of rounds, the deep Southwest Virginia has received, the Lions has received a larger share than any of the other regions. And it's not because we are withholding money from the other regions, it's because that's where we're getting the most number of applications. We have other regions where there's money left sitting on the table after we've awarded everything that came in, because there just weren't as many applications. And so, you know, in a nutshell, we can only equitably distribute the money when we get applications for the money. And so we don't want the board to be criticized for not equitably distributing the money. Therefore, this policy, I think, explains why you see some of that variation.
Check. Yep. I'm not seeing any other questions, so. Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Charlie. Now it's time on the agenda where members of the public may address comments to the Grants Committee. Just as a reminder, we request that those comments be limited to 3 minutes. If you're on virtually, just put your name in the chat or use the hand raise function to indicate you'd like to speak. And then if you're in person, I will let those in person just recognize you to speak. I'm not seeing any acknowledgement on my end. Anyone there in person?
No, Madam Chair, no, we have no members of the public attending here in person.
Okay, thank you. We will move on to new business. So the first item under new business is for the Grants Committee to consider awards listed on Attachment A to the agenda for amendments to current year city and county awards as recommended for approval by staff in Attachment A and described in the presentation for our fiscal year 2026 performance period. Do I hear a motion?
So move to approve the block of awards, the amendments to the city and counties for the current year awards as recommended by staff.
Thank you, Mr. Spencer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nay. Any abstentions? Okay. We have approved item 6A. Moving on to item 6B, where we will consider the block of awards to state agencies for amendments to planning grant awards as recommended by approval for staff that were in Attachment A and described in the presentation. Do I hear a motion?
So move.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Any abstentions? Thank you. We have approved new business item 6B. Moving on to item 6C, we will now consider approval of the draft equitable distribution policy as recommended by approval for staff in Attachment B and as described in the presentation. Do I hear a motion?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? No abstentions, I'm sure. So we'll have a unanimous approval of item 6C. Moving on to item 6D in new business.
Actually, I believe 6D was the draft equitable distribution policy. C will be the state agency amendments and
Yes,
planning grant.
apologize, there seemed to be a version issue with the presentation that we're presenting. So item 6B would have been should have been the amendments to city and county planning grants. 6C is should be the amendments to the state agency awards, and then 6D is supposed to be the equitable distribution.
And it really doesn't matter what order, as long as we identify that we're awarding these or state agencies for amendments to the planning grant awards as recommended for approval by staff.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think we did that as we went through. They just had the items slightly different than what was in the agenda, I think. So I think we're all clear on that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I
I
didn't
would-
think we had voted on the state ones. We had voted twice on 2 city and locality amendments. But I don't believe we voted on.
The problem is this item 6B that I'm showing right now combined the state agencies and the planning grants, and in saying planning grants, it does not also spell out that they are city and county planning grants. The state agency awards are not planning grants. So,
So what?
I
do we
think-
need to approve?
I think we've covered a block of awards to state agencies for amendments, so I think we probably should just cover the block of awards to cities and counties for planning grant amendment.
Okay.
Okay, so go ahead and accept a new motion for that then.
Yes.
Okay. Tim, you want to make that motion? I mean, I think
So
you
moved.
did. All right, second.
Second.
All in
I'll second.
favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thanks for that clarification.
Now, the actual 6D for the draft equitable distribution is.
We've
Okay.
already approved that.
Did
So
you-
we've approved that one.
Okay,
Now it's consideration of nominations for committee vice chair.
All right, as you know, with the recent change in the membership of our grants committee, we need to elect a new vice chair who will serve in the place of the chair if that person, which is me right now, is not available. So again, the primary responsibility is just to run the grants meeting, report the grants committee's activities during our regular board of directors meeting. So to elect a vice chair, a member of the grants committee must make a nomination of one of the committee members from which the committee was going to consider that motion for approval. So do I hear any nominations for vice chair of the grants committee?
She's on the chair. Maybe point somebody out.
Dr. Thompson was our previous vice chair and he's rolled off, just to refresh your memory, historical memory.
Nobody got queued up for the meeting.
That's what I was looking for.
We didn't talk.
Well, Mr. Spencer is already already holds a board position as the secretary of the authority. So, the 3 potential, folks that could serve in this position would be Mr. Tellum, Ms. Barber, and Mr. Washington. So perhaps one of them would self-nominate.
Please.
You are. We have a nomination.
Right.
Mr. Washington has nominated himself.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Washington. That's great.
Unanimously seconded by those present.
Great. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, you're now my vice chair. Yay. Thank you for agreeing to serve, Daryl. That's great. All right, so we're finishing up here for our new business. Anybody have any other items of new business they'd like for us to consider?
Madam Chair, the staff has an item of general news and interest to the board members
Please share.
regarding one of our team members, Matt and Charlie.
Oh, yes, I can read this out. So most of you know our senior business analyst, Matt Terrell. Been with us for a couple of years now and primarily runs the processes to manage the grants system and our grants portal. And I got a message from him just a little bit ago that he and his wife welcomed earlier today, baby boy Liam Raymond Terrell, 7 pounds, 6 ounces. Both mom and baby are doing great.
Thanks. Fantastic.
That's great
That's
news.
wonderful news.
I decided to go ahead and let him have the rest of the day off.
Yeah. We didn't make him come to Farmville today.
I will share with you that I got a voicemail from Steve Lloyd. I think some of you know who he is, but he happens to chair the Tennessee Opioid Abatement Authority, but he was on his way back from Roanoke. And as you guys remember, we funded the restoration housing there, and he had gone to visit. And I'm just reading what he had written. This is truly amazing work from the Virginia Opioid Abatement Authority. I could not be more uplifted. I needed it worse than you can really imagine today. I just wanted to congratulate the authority on their great work. It totally will change your attitude for the day if you're able to visit it. So I just thought you guys would like to hear that.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, a note I received a few weeks ago, the OAA held one of its Abatement Academy webinars that was focused on recovery high schools and was mainly presented by someone from DBHTS. There was a lot of robust discussion and information, very well attended. And there was also a gentleman who works with the National Association of Recovery Schools, who was very complimentary of Virginia and its progress and the way it is taking on recovery high schools, and says that we're from all the other states that he's worked with, that we're at the top of the game. So, wow.
Great. Thanks for sharing, Charlie. For staff, I had a question. Is the foundation submitting a proposal to the RX Summit this year, or what's the plans for that? I'm just curious.
So the question is whether or not we have staff members that are submitting proposals. I think Charlie has submitted one.
Yeah, I have submitted a proposal that's called Yes in My Backyard. That is highlighting the Mended Women and the Hope House grants that we have funded for the last couple of years from our first round of funding, because those projects came from the community to the government to kind of take over and to kind of oversee and provide these funds for. And our funds were key into getting both of those facilities open. And we thought it would be a good way to highlight some unique stuff that you can see coming from communities, that it's not everybody's doing NIMBY. So YIMBY does exist. So I haven't heard back on that, but my plan is to, I've submitted to be the main presenter who talks about our grants and how these things work. And most of it is going to be discussion between the two grant awardees about how they were able to work through processes with their local governments and their community organizations to get to where they are.
That sounds great. Love it. Any other comments?
I know you guys, the last time we had met, or seems like the last time we might have actually been talked about the dashboard being rolled out. Is that being heavily looked at or used? Any feedback that we're getting regarding the dashboard?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'll take that question about the dashboard. Well, it's interesting. There's two dashboards. There's the OAA dashboard. It's been up and running now for a couple of months, but there were some minor problems in it that we needed the vendor to fix. And we have one problem left. So they've crossed everything off the list except for one, which is kind of providing a link for instructions on the dashboard itself. As soon as they've done that, that's when we're gonna go out and really start marketing the dashboard and doing a press release. And we didn't want to steer attention to it while we were still ironing out some of the kinks with the vendor. Interestingly, and I just sent a note to Senator Pillion yesterday, we are also working, we're putting a lot of staff time and effort into working with the Virginia IT agency and the Office of Data Governance and a couple of contractors that they have hired to implement the statewide substance use disorder analytics platform that Senator Pillion called for in a budget amendment, budget language during the 2024 session of the General Assembly. So $4 million of the state's opioid settlement funds out of the core fund have been set aside to create this web-based enterprise system-wide analytics platform that receives data from across state agencies, whether it's from Virginia Department of Health, DBHDS, from Medicaid, from the All Payer Claims Database, from CSBs, from a variety of sources, and pulls this data together in a dashboard that paints an incredible picture. And I appreciate you bringing it up because one of the things that I'm trying to get put together over the next several weeks is a demonstration of that system. So the first phase of it goes live next week. It's restricted. The use of it right now is restricted for people that have legitimate government needs to see the data. So it's not going to be available to the general public yet. That's a little bit of a long story as to why we negotiated that approach. But the system is phenomenal. I think you're going to be very, very happy with it. And we're trying to put together a demo for the full OAA board that will occur one evening over the next 2 or 3 weeks. So watch your emails for scheduling opportunity to see this 1 hour demo of the SUDA system.
No, I appreciate that, Tony. So, how close to real time is that? Because I know one of the challenges we've always had is the information that we get from the health department, public health information is often 2 quarters old by the time you can see it.
That's correct. So really all that SUDA is doing is taking existing data and allowing you to do multivariable analysis with it. So it's not new data, but so you're taking the VDH data, you're combining it with hospital data, and it's painting a much bigger picture, but it's not providing us any more timely data than what already exists. And so, for example, overdose death data typically comes from the medical examiner. And so they're working to get that data out quarterly, but there's a delay between when the overdose occurs and when the medical examiner's report comes out, and then all of that gets validated by the epidemiologist at VDH. So there is a natural delay built into some of those data sets that we can't fix, but the vendors are bringing some of their own data into the system. So they, for example, they look at a community level. For any city in Virginia, any county in Virginia, they have access to the latest data on demographics. So not only do you see what a death rate is for a certain community, but you can correlate that with demographics in that community, with income level, and begin to look at, what's the distance or transportation challenge for people to get access to a hospital, to a treatment center. When you start to combine all of that, you start to see some very interesting trends. Daryl, to your point, the trend might end 6 months ago. So it's not just in time data the way we would like to have it, but it's paints a much more descriptive picture than just trying to cull through each one of these siloed data sets on its own.
Helpful.
Any other comments, discussion? Well, thanks everyone for sharing. I guess we have reached our time together that will end. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you. Second? Yeah, I heard that. Everybody in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Everybody have a safe trip home.